Alright, welcome back. So in the previous episode we were just fixing some bugs with the podcast fetching and creation and sorting the GUID out. I think what I'd like to do now is actually start building some simple views to render our podcasts. So as it stands, everything that we've done has been in this single admin view, and I would like to write some specific podcast views so we can display all the images and episodes for our podcast. So I think what we want to do is inside podcasts, we want to add a new file. Just call this URLs. Is that correct? Yeah, that's correct. And then in Podcatcher, we want to import those URLs. So we want to say here include, and we want the root path to just include podcasts URLs. So hopefully now if we refresh this, something will blow up because we haven't actually exported anything here. There's no URL patterns. So if we go to Django URLs, let's figure out how we do this. We need to say URL patterns equals. Okay, that's fairly straightforward. So let's go to podcasts URLs. Let's make this quite simple. From Django.urls import path, import the views. We don't really have any views yet, so that's just an example. Yeah, let's do import views, and we want just a default view, and let's just say views dot index. Let's have a look inside views. What have we got? There's no views. So let's make a quick view. Let's say Django ListView, detail view. It's not what I want. ListView. Yeah, this is what I want. So ListView. Let's say class podcast ListView. Seems to be following a convention. ListView, and the model is going to be podcast. I'm going to say from models import podcast. I'm going to make sure we spell this right. That really should be enough. And then in here we just need to say podcast list view as view. So going back to our URLs in podcasts, to the index, I want to say podcast list view as view, and name is going to be podcast list. So we go back here to your terminal. Seems to have worked fine. It's complaining about a warning. Has a root beginning with a slash. Okay, so go in here. I don't think I need this leading slash here, or I think I can just get rid of that one. Yeah. Let's try it again. Restart the server. Begins with a slash. Remove the slash is unnecessary. Let's try removing both. Okay, that seems to have worked, and let's try and go to just our home page. Okay, so it's going to complain template does not exist. Podcast lists. So I need to go in here and create a folder called templates, and in that folder I need to create a new folder called podcasts, and in there I need to create a new file called podcast list.html. If I open this and just say hello world and refresh this, I should get hello world. Alright, so that's working pretty well. And then we can say for podcast, and I think it's object list potentially, and for I can say show me the podcast. And it's going to complain a bit, probably because I've misnamed this object list. It's actually just object list, not object list. Let's try that. Let's refresh. Okay, so let's talk Python to me. Alright, that's a pretty good start. So let's try prettifying this, making it look a bit nicer by extending like a base template. So let's just say Django base template. The Django template language. Yeah, I want to do something like this where it extends like a base generic template, where this has like title blocks and everything, and I want to do Bootstrap. Whatever the latest version of Bootstrap is, we're just going to use the template from that. So inside templates, let's create a new file just called base.html. And inside base.html, we're just going to paste all of this and get rid of hello world. Our title here is going to be podcatcher, and we're going to have a title block, and then we're going to end that block. Maybe we want to have like a dash between those. And then there's optional JavaScript here. We will want to say like block content here, and then end block. And we want to extend this base template here. So we want to say, following this example, extends base generic. We want to say it just extends base.html. And then in the content block here, we want to include all this stuff. So hopefully all that's been spelled correctly. We refresh that. That looks like some kind of bootstrappy styles have been applied, which is good. Let's just see if we can quickly throw some components in here. Let's try and steal like the default navbar and drop this into base.html. Go nicely in there. Go into here. Okay, so we've got navbar. That's great. Can I format this document maybe? Maybe I cannot format HTML inside Kate. That's fine. So let's just call this podcatcher. Have a slash here. I don't think I really need any of these URLs, so I can get rid of a few of these. Maybe I don't need this at all, but I think it might mess with the formatting. Yeah, it did, unfortunately. So let's just keep that empty for the time being, because we might need to add some more stuff further down. Okay, so that seems to be working nicely. So let's go back to our list, and maybe let's spice this up a little bit. For each podcast element, I want to show like a card. This seems like a pretty nice example here. So let's copy this. For podcast and podcast, I want to show a card. And instead of the card text, let's just have the podcast.title, maybe. Podcast.title. Let's go in and refresh this. It looks like we're missing the image, which makes sense. Instead of this, we want to say podcast.image URL. Was it image URL? Let's go and double check. It was. Did I really not save this? Feed link, site link. I didn't save this. Ah, so we need to go back and actually extend our parser to actually pass the image URL, because it looks like this is something I missed. Yeah, so there we are. The href image here is something that I need. So let's go into our parser, and when we pass the podcast, we want the image URL. And when we pass that, I imagine we want to look up the iTunes image and then just get the href. So let's do channel get the iTunes image, and then from that we want to get the href. It's gonna complain because I missed a little bracket. Let's just test our podcasts again. That seems to be working. Okay, so it's complaining unexpected image URL. Yeah, that's kind of expected because we need an image URL. Or should we call it image link? Let's be consistent. Maybe call it image link. Yeah, image link seems more appropriate. So let's go back to our parser, image link, and let's throw that there. So now if we test this, it appears to be working, but first we need to make migrations. for podcasts. Let's just have an empty string. Migrate. Now if we test it, it should work. Let's just go into here. We might actually have to go to the admin page, podcasts, talk Python to me. I guess it's loading lots of episodes. And we could do with being able to add the image link here. In fact, I think what we'll do just to test that our code was working is just delete this podcast and add it again. Goodbye. Let's copy you, add podcast by feed link, save. Let's just check nothing's blown up there. Talk Python to me. Okay, let's have a look. Yep, that seems to be okay. Now if we visit the home page and go back to our template, which is here, podcast list, we called this image link, didn't we? So let's save that, then refresh. We get a nice image link. I would also like to add some sort of like nice padding here potentially. So let's go back in here and let's maybe just wrap this in like a container and see if that does anything. Is my bootstrap up to scratch? It should be outside of there actually. It's not really applied much padding for us. Let's try container fluid and add some padding around it. Okay, that looks pretty nice. I wonder if there's any like title examples here inside card body that we can add instead of card text. Let's do card title. So this is going to be bold. Okay, that looks pretty nice. And I think we probably want to link this to a specific page for the podcast, which we'll probably do in the next episode just to break these up.